Hello and welcome to this literacy webinar focusing on helping your child to read at home. In this PowerPoint, we hope to give you some tips and guidance on hearing your reception child read at home. At Pixies, we follow the Ruth Miskin Read Write Inc phonics scheme. It is through this scheme that children will learn the skills needed to become confident readers. How does reading start? Children begin their reading journey by learning the sounds that letters make. The children will then use this new knowledge of sounds to sound out words and then blend them back together. For example, s-at. The children would then say sat. Fred talk. We introduce segmenting and blending of words through Fred talk. This is Fred. Fred can only talk by saying the sounds in words. He cannot say the whole word. Red words. Red words, also known as tricky words or common exception words, are words that cannot be sounded out using the typical phonics rules, making them non-decodable. They are words that must be memorised due to their irregular spelling sound relationships. Examples include the words said, to, go, and the. Children learn red words alongside green words. Green words are words that can be sounded out. Word reading stages. Once children have grasped Fred talk, for example, k, at, cat, we move the children on to Fred in your head. This is where we encourage the children to sound out the word in their head. This may be a slight whisper to start with, but in time will be completely in their head. Finally, the children will become speedy readers. This is where children are able to read a word quickly without the need to sound it out. Sometimes children will continue to sound out words even once they know the word, as they feel they should be demonstrating this skill. But we just say, if you know it, read it. Books. All books sent home for your child to read will be matched to the sounds that your child knows and can read. Your child will be able to Fred talk any of the words they may stumble on or find tricky. It is important to remember that your child is on their own reading journey and they should not be compared to their peers. Is this book too easy for my child? A child being able to read a book does not mean the book is too easy for them. We want children to become confident, fluent readers and enjoy reading books. You yourself wouldn't want to read a book that you cannot read the words or understand what is happening. So instead of saying, this book is too easy for you, you may or could say, I love how well you can read this book. Reading. With each read, we're getting the children to work on these 3 areas of reading. Number 1, accuracy. This is where children can sound out the words they are unfamiliar with and gain an understanding of new words. 2, fluency. This is where children are beginning to read the words in the story more speedily without the need to sound them out. 3, and finally, comprehension. Discussing key parts of the story, being able to retell the story and answer questions about what happened in the story. Sound blending books. One of the first books your child will read is a sound blending book. This book contains words that they can practice their Fred talk with. Here is an example.
Dad. Dad. It. Pit. Pit. At. Mat. Mat. Sad. 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 Dip. Dip. Dip.
Children will then move on to ditty sheets. This is a short story. Children should start at the top of the sheet, saying the sounds, then on to the story words and red words before reading the story. Here is an example.
Dog. I got pop. Dad got a sip. The dog did not.
Children will then get a red book. These are very similar to the ditty sheets, but are now in a book format. Children should read the green story words, the red words before reading the story. Here is an example.
Let's get wet.
Well done.
Look at them. In. Let's go at get wet. Put them on. Put it on. Put them on. Put them on. Put them on.
Oh, what does this one say?
Put them in.
Well done.
Let's get in. Let's get wet.
Can you retell the story?
Yeah.
What happens first?
They get their swimming costumes on.
And then what happens?
They put their sun cream on.
And then what do? They
put their swimming hats on.
And then?
They put their goggles on.
And then what do?
They throw their floaties in the pool.
Yeah.
And then they jump in.
Well done. Okay, let's have a look at the question. What do the boys put on first?
Their swimming costumes.
Well done. Why do you think the boys put sun cream on?
So they don't get sunburnt.
Well done. What do the boys do at the end of the story?
They jump in.
Well done. Really good reading. Reading record. This is an example of some reading record comments. You may want to add a comment about something your child found tricky or did well with, but on most days, the date and a signature will be fine. It's important that we can see how much your child has read their book at home, as this information helps us to best support your child in class. At the end of reception class, the children are assessed against the early learning goals. There is a literacy early learning goal that states that the children should be able to read words consistent with their phonics knowledge by sound blending, and read aloud simple sentences and books that are consistent with their phonics knowledge, including some common exception words. Remember, those common exception words are the tricky words or the red words. How can I help my child? 3 things to do. Number 1, ask your child to read the sounds and story words before reading the story. When your child reads the story, encourage them to use Fred Talk on any words they hesitate on or read incorrectly. Read back each sentence or page to keep the plot moving. Your child's energy is going into reading the words, not the story. As your child's reading develops, they will be able to read back the sentence independently. 3 things not to do. Do not read the story to your child first, as they may be able to remember what they have heard. Number 2, do not ask your child to guess a word by looking at the pictures. Remember, the book is containing sounds that your child knows. Encourage Fred talk or Fred in your head. Number 3, please try not to get annoyed if your child is struggling. I know it can be frustrating, but lots of praise and patience is needed. Thank you for watching this literacy webinar on hearing your child read at home. If you have any questions, please do let us know.